Hey everybody, here we are in Module 5. Take a moment and consider what that means. We've passed the halfway point for the semester, so more has been done already than we have left to do. Hopefully, that is good news for everyone, but it would also be a good idea to take a moment and do some self-assessment while there's still time to change outcomes. If you've been regularly missing points on our discussions, it might be time to consider my comments and see what you can do to improve them. Likewise, if I've been saying that you need to refine your APA citation, then it might be appropriate to take the time to get that done before we get to the moment that it becomes absolutely critical when the milestone project is due. Now, this week, we turn to the subject of free will, and it is an important one for us. And part of what we'll be doing this week is discussing why. When you get to your textbook readings, I think you'll be a little surprised at how little it supports the idea of free will. Practically speaking, most of the chapter on free will is about how various philosophers have struggled to make a case for its existence. The takeaway from this should not be that free will does not exist. Rather, that proving free will is a chore that has bested great minds for centuries. The other takeaway is that despite it eluding our ability to verify it, we all tend to go along day by day, year by year, thinking about the plans we are making through our own volition and blaming ourselves for the missteps we've taken, all because our choices are made, we think of our choices as being made through free will. In other words, despite Immanuel Kant having to use some shifty trickery to say that free will exists because we all kind of pretend that it does, the truth is we do actually all tend to do exactly that, acting as though free will was real, whether or not we can prove it. I suppose the only thing to ask about that is, if we're all under a mass delusion about it, what's the difference between delusion and reality? Now, your first assignment for this week is a discussion explaining your position on free will, and that's going to be determinist, anti-determinist, or compatibilist, splitting the difference in some way. As we have before, you're asked to, and your response is to politely argue with one another, to state alternative cases for those who take a stance other than your own. As before, I will ask you to remember the polite part. We've had no problems so far. That is great. Let's keep it professional. The second assignment is submitting the prospectus. I'll have an announcement on it, restating and rephrasing the prompts that you're required to answer. Remember, you're not writing the actual essay here. You're just answering prompts that ask you to build materials that will go into your essay. These include stating and explaining the question you're exploring, presenting your answer to that question, building and developing your argument to prove your answer, showing why all this matters, demonstrating the evidence you'll include to support the argument, and offering a counterargument to disprove as part of shoring up your position. And let me just say real quick, we're calling this a prospectus. It's kind of a loose term, all right? So I just want you to be aware, if you go on to another class and they ask you to write a prospectus for a project, it's very unlikely that it will look like the thing you're doing here, all right? Generally, a prospectus, what it does is when you're doing a research project, it's explaining how you're going to get all the information you're getting and what that you expect that information to be and where that how that information will fit into the project you're doing. So if you think about, say, history is a field that regularly uses a prospectus, and what that means is you're going to say, I'm going to go to this part of the country. I'm going to look into these records in this place. I'm going to, walk this battlefield and see what the terrain is like. You're going to talk about actually going and doing things, and then you're going to talk about what kind of information that you're expecting to get out of it. And then you're going to say how that fits into what you're trying to do. All right. So it's not what we're calling a prospectus isn't really what I would think of as a prospectus, but we're going to call it that. All right. I just wanted you to know. Now, what you're asked to do is for ours is simply number the document from 1 to 5 and fill in the required information for each prompt. Now, my guess is that this probably cannot be done in under 2 pages of double-spaced type. So I'll be looking for 2 to 3 pages as a minimum. Though if you are a master of concision, I will consider and allow it. Just make sure you're getting all the information that it's asking for in there. Otherwise, I will call you on it. All right. So if you need me to ask anything during this week, as always, you know how to get a hold of me. Please take that effort and do it. All right. I'm happy to clear anything up I can. Till next time, adios.